teams, as you know, witnesses are only permitted to testify to the information in the fact situation, their witness statements, and what can be reasonably inferred from that. You all know the time limits. We have our timekeeper with cards. Will the timekeeper be moving to the jury box? Is that your preference?
I think that's requested.
If it's requested, we'll wait and see if it's a request. Okay. I'm sorry?
Do you have an app?
I think I can pull out some time cards.
No, they're not. They're using
I've got some here. Let's make sure that these are. Yeah. And so when the no time card comes up, or if it comes up, stop talking if you have more you'd like to say. As you know, all witnesses, each side must call all 3 witnesses, or else there's penalty points. The only exhibits that may be offered at trial are the ones that have been pre-marked as exhibit 1 through 7. I noticed yesterday that some teams, they have exhibit 1 that's on a single page, some of them have an exhibit 1A and a 1B that are on separate pages. You can do either one of those, whatever you want. If one side wants to use an exhibit 1 that's on a single page and the other wants to do it differently, that's fine. You can offer them separately. You're not bound by what the other team did, so just do it however you want to do it. Let's see. As you noticed yesterday, there is no water up on the witness stand. There usually is. So I swiped a small water bottle and some cups from the judge's room. I'm gonna have to ration it. I'm gonna keep it up here, but if you're testifying, I'm not even sure which side. Well, anyway, if you're testifying and you need a sip of water, just ask me and I'll pour you some. I'm not gonna leave it there because I gotta ration it, but if you have something, and if you have your own water bottle, please as a witness, please feel free to bring it up to the witness stand with you. And I've been assured that all the participants have read the Code of Ethical Conduct and have agreed to follow the rules of the mock trial competition. That's it for my introductory remarks. So now I'd like to start with introduction of the teams, starting with the plaintiff.
Yes, Your Honor. Good morning. My name is Hazel Sims. I will be presenting the opening statement as well as conducting the direct examination of Hayden Honeycutt. Nathan Corey will be presenting the direct examinations of Denny Nugget and Morgan Dorf, as well as conducting the cross-examination of Rowan Wilson. Eleanor Isles will be conducting the cross-examinations of Sammy Snow and Charlie Baggins, and Isaac Nilsson will be presenting the closing arguments. Caspian Green will be performing the duties of the clerk. Thank you. The witnesses will now introduce themselves in order in which they appear.
Hello, my name is Annalise Buckley. My pronouns are she, her, and I will be portraying Hayden Honeycutt.
Good morning, Your Honor. My name is Connor Johnson, pronouns he, him, and I will be portraying Morgan Dorf.
Good morning, Your Honor. My name is Finn Mayer. I use he, him pronouns, and I'll be portraying Denny Nugget.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Defense.
Good morning, Your Honor. My name is Estella Graviel, and today I will be performing the cross-examination of Hayden Honeycutt, as well as the direct examination of Charlie Baggins. And now for my co-counsel.
Good morning, Your Honor. My name is Alyssa Ortiz, and I'm doing the direct of Rowan Wilson and the cross of Morgan Dorf.
Good morning, Your Honor. My name is Jamie Kobos, and I will be delivering the opening statement.
Good morning, Your Honor. My name is Megan Hutchinson, and I'll be conducting the cross-examination of Denny Nugget and the closing argument.
Good morning, Your Honor. My name is Allie Garman, and I will be performing the direct of Sammy Snow.
And our witnesses.
Good morning, Your Honor. My name is Sophie Eaton, and I am Sammy Snow.
Good morning, Your Honor. My name is Mason Johnston, and I am Charlie Baggins.
Good morning, Your Honor. My name is Solana Saunier, and I am Rowan Wilson. Thank you.
All right, thank you, everyone. Are there any preliminary matters, again, starting with the plaintiff?
Yes, Your Honor. First, we'd like to ask for the plaintiff and the defense that our attorneys be allowed to move freely about the well.
You may, the only limitation is if you want to approach the witness with an exhibit, you just need to ask permission first.
I'd like to ask your owner's preference on approaching the clerk as well.
I think it kind of go with going up to the witness, so you can kind of do it as a 2-in-1.
All right, thank you.
Situation. You can give official copy of the
And secondly, we'd like to ask that the bailiff be moved to the jury box so that the attorneys can see the time cards.
That's fine.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, defense, anything from any preliminary matters?
Yes, Your Honor. Defense asks if we should assume if objections are sustained that testimony is stricken from the record, or should we request that it be stricken?
That's a good question. Why don't we, since for time purposes, why don't we assume that it's stricken? And also, sometimes when you argue objections, it may come up that you want to say what the testimony would be or the specific thing we're arguing about, rather than having a sidebar and we'll pretend that the jury's not there, we'll just argue it in open court. So, from the lawyers arguing this is what it's going to be or whatever, that's fine to do it even in court.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, I think that's it for preliminary matters. We're ready for opening statements.
Yes, Your Honor. Your Honor, members of the jury, may it please the court. 100 years of tradition ended by one click. 100 years of a family business tirelessly serving the community. 100 years of enjoyment and employment for the people of Cascadia. All ended by a single, irresponsible social media post. A careless fabrication. 100 years ended by one click. Members of the jury, today you're going to hear the story of the Honeycutt Carnival, the Cascadia institution that was forced to close last year. But this case is not about what the Honeycutt Carnival was, it's about what the Honeycutt Carnival has become. This case is about a statement of purported fact published by the the defendant, Sammy Snow. Sammy Snow is a reviewer, and it's about one of her reviews in particular, a post on Miss Snow's page with the words, "Hayden and the Honeycutt Carnival got people skull dead for a ride. Won't be back." A lie. Today, Miss Snow is going to tell you about her influence. She is an influencer. It's her job. She has 4 million followers, 1 million of whom are on Instagram. So when Miss Snow's followers see a post about a local business, which she makes often, they don't expect satire from her. They expect a review. Now, Miss Snow has 1 million followers, as I stated. And as you will see in this case, Miss Snow's followers, when they see her posts, do what followers do. They are influenced by Miss Snow. They believe her. They came to the carnival to harass its workers, not online, but in real life. And just 3 months after Miss Snow's post, the Honeycutt Carnival closed. Now, Miss Snow is not any kind of influencer. She's a reviewer. She makes posts about businesses around Cascadia that she expects her followers to believe. We, as the plaintiff in this case, must prove that Miss Snow's act of publishing her false statement was an act of defamation. Essentially, that with a single click, Miss Snow published this false statement about the Honeycutt Carnival, and that it significantly harmed Miss Honeycutt and tarnished her reputation. If, by the end of this trial, we have met our burden, if you are more than 50% sure that Miss Snow in fact tarnished Miss Honeycutt's reputation, you must find Miss Snow liable for defamation. Now, before we conclude, let's remember the original creator of this image, Charlie Baggins. Mr. Baggins created this image, yes, but he did not and could not publish it to a wide audience. Mr. Baggins has 600 followers. Miss Snow has 996,000. She has the power, with a single click, to take an unheard statement and publish it to millions. She has the power, with a single click, to end a legacy. And today, you will see that she did. You will hear from an employee of the carnival, Mr. Denny Nugget, about how Miss Snow's followers came to the carnival to harass its workers. Miss Snow's followers came to the carnival with Miss Snow's face on their t-shirts, shouting Miss Snow's slogan. They came to the carnival to harass its workers with hateful words, to call them murderers. Not online, but in real life. Miss Snow clicked. Her followers believed, and Miss Honeycutt suffered. Sammy Snow is an influencer. And when she clicks, her followers expect something real. All it took was just one of those clicks, and Miss Snow's followers swarmed the Honeycutt Carnival and ended a 100-year tradition. By the end of this trial, we are confident that you will find Sammy Snow liable for defamation. Thank you for your time.
Right, defense opening.
Yes, Your Honor.
Your Honor, members of the jury, may it please the court. We are in court today because Honeycutt cannot handle humor. This case is not about lying, it's not about misinformation, it's not even about defamation. It's about blame. Honeycutt Carnival has been struggling long before any single social media post. But instead of accepting responsibility for the failure of their family's business, Honeycutt wants to pin the blame on my client, Miss Sammy Snow. Snow is a well-known social media influencer, and that means she's someone who engages her followers through commentary, authenticity, and humor. On May 31st, Snow reposted an Instagram meme originally created by Charlie Baggins. This meme exaggerated a ride malfunction that occurred at the Honeycutt Carnival. During the incident, carnival patrons were left stranded on a ride called the Zipper for over 3 hours. No one was hurt, but the terrifying event was covered by local news and generated a lot of chatter on social media. My client and 1,300 other people also shared the image that Baggins created. The image used AI to depict a stick figure falling out of the Zipper ride. However, the figure itself is disproportionately large, the colors are way oversaturated, and the image is pretty clearly fake. Across the original image, Baggins wrote the cryptic caption, "Hayden and Honeycutt Carnival got people skull emoji for a ride." When reposting to her own account, Sammy's only comment was, "Won't be back." And that's all. No assertion of fact, no accusation, just an opinion on top of a little dark humor. But Honeycutt cannot handle humor. Honeycutt wants you to believe that this single social media post, among millions of daily interactions, somehow destroyed their business. And that's not just unfair, it's absurd. It's not how the law works. In this case, the plaintiff, Honeycutt, bears the burden of proof. This means they must prove by preponderance of the evidence defamation, which entails that 1. Sammy made a false statement about the carnival. 2. That it was harmful. 3. That Sammy is at fault for the statement. And 4. It caused real financial damage. However, ladies and gentlemen, they will fail to prove these elements. The evidence will show that no statement of fact was ever made, and that Honeycutt Carnival had been on a downward spiral for years. Financial records will reveal a struggling business, not a successful one that was suddenly ruined by a meme. The reality is that Honeycutt Carnival failed because of its own shortcomings, not because of Sammy Snow. It is important that you remember during this case, we as the defense carry no burden of proof. Today, we will call 3 witnesses. First, we will call Sammy Snow herself to the stand. She'll explain the post she made was just a joke. It didn't assert that anyone was killed or injured at the carnival, and everything about it was simply exaggerated and humorous. Second, we will call Charlie Baggins, who will also affirm the post he made was satirical in nature, and he'll also speak to the financial state of the carnival as a former employee. Third and finally, we will call Rowan Wilson to the stand, an expert in AI and social media, who will explain why it's important that content online not be taken as fact and used to sue content creators and other everyday users. The plaintiff will also call 3 witnesses, but cross-examination will reveal the truth. Their claims are built on speculation and hurt feelings, all in a desperate attempt to save their failed family business. Ladies and gentlemen, social media is full of memes, jokes, and exaggerated content. If every business that received negative attention online could blame an influencer for their failure, social media would cease to exist as a place for free expression, and the courts would be clogged with frivolous lawsuits like this one. You may think that the closing of Honeycutt Carnival is sad. You may think that Sammy Snow's repost was made in poor taste. You may not care for dark humor, and you may not even like social media, but the law protects humorous, critical, and satirical speech. Hayden Honeycutt may not have a sense of humor, but the law certainly does. We ask that you return a verdict of not liable. Thank you.
Give our judges a minute before we swear the truth.
Plaintiff, can call your first witness.
Yes, Your Honor. The plaintiff calls Hayden Honeycutt to the stand.
Ms. Buckley, please raise your right hand. Do you promise that the testimony you are about to give will faithfully and truthfully conform to the facts and rules of the mock trial competition?
I do.
You may be seated. Please state your full name and spell your last.
Hello, my name is Hayden Honeycutt, Honeycutt.
Thank you, Ms. Honeycutt. Introduce us to the Honeycutt Carnival.
Right. Honeycutt Carnival was something created by my great-grandfather as a place where the people of Cascadia could come and enjoy themselves. And I was the first woman in my family to run it, and I ran it successfully for over 20 years.
How long was the carnival in operation total?
We were a few months shy of 100 years. I mean, in 100 years, you go through a lot of ups and downs, and despite it all, we delivered on our promise to bring joy to the community, especially in the summertime when it was warm.
Did that happen the summer of 2024?
It did not. We didn't get a chance to see the benefits of the summer because we had to close due to a massive drop in attendance.
Tell us briefly what happened in the run-up to that closure.
We closed after an untrue post about the carnival was made and was shared by an influencer named Sammy Snow.
Thank you. Now, before we discuss that post, let's talk about the incident that sparked it. What happened on April 1st?
One of our rides called the roller coaster one of our roller coasters called the Zipper had a brief malfunction. And at first, I just thought it was some terrible April Fool's Day joke, but it was real. And so we worked as fast as we could to get everyone down.
Was anyone hurt?
No, thank goodness.
To be very clear, Ms. Honeycutt, did anyone die?
No.
Thank you. Now, had anything similar to that incident occurred in the past?
Unfortunately, yes. Around 20 years ago, I believe it was 2004, a different ride called the Thunderbolt had a similar incident, but we were able to get everyone down in that instance as well.
Was anyone hurt then?
No, which was another blessing.
What was the public reaction then in 2004?
We received a few articles about it, which was understandable, and so then we had a dip in attendance, but after that we bounced back and we got back on our feet and we ran successfully for another 20 years.
Did the news cover the case from this year?
They did. There were lots of articles about the facts of what happened, and we actually really appreciated that at the Honeycutt Carnival because they made sure to tell everyone that no one was hurt, which was very important.
Was that the only coverage that this case received?
No. About a month after the accident, we were informed of a post from Sammy Snow.
Thank you. Now, let's discuss that. Did the name Sammy Snow mean anything to you before this case?
Yes. I met Miss Snow a while back when she came to the carnival to make a business proposal of sorts.
What was that proposal?
to be honest, I'm not even sure if proposal is the word I would use. She called it an influencer sponsorship contract. And basically, she would promote the carnival on social media. And at the time, I guess I just didn't think that social media could have a real impact on the carnival. And obviously, I've been proven wrong.
Now, let's discuss the post in question that you're mentioning. When you saw the post, what did you understand it to mean?
That we had hurt or even killed people.
Thank you. I'm retrieving what has previously been marked as Exhibit 1A. I'm handing a copy to the opposing counsel. May I approach the clerk?
You may.
May I approach the witness? Thank you. Handing a copy to the clerk. And a copy to Ms. Honeycutt. Ms. Honeycutt, can you identify this for the court?
Yes, this is the post in question.
The plaintiff moves to enter Exhibit 1A into evidence. Its authenticity has been stipulated.
Is there any objection?
Yes, Your Honor, hearsay.
Your Honor, we are not trying to prove the truth of the matter asserted that Ms. Honeycutt in fact gets people scolded for a ride. In fact, the opposite. We're using this to prove the effect on the listener of people who saw the post.
It's not hearsay, it's not being up for any response.
As long as the jury's aware that it is not being offered for the truth of the matter.
Okay, so it's, Exhibit 1A then is admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Now, Ms. Honeycutt, if you could briefly show the jury, what about this post made you think that it said that you would hurt or even kill people?
Well, there are a few things. The first is it shows someone literally falling from the zipper, which did not happen, to be so clear. And secondly, the text reads, Hayden and the Honeycutt Carnival got people skull emoji for a ride. Skull, dead. You get the picture.
Ms. Honeycutt, is that true? Do you get people scolded for a ride?
No.
Thank you. Now, did you ever reach out to Ms. Snow when you saw this post?
I did. I reached out and I wasn't really looking for an apology. I just wanted everyone to know that it was false or for the post to be taken down at least.
Did Ms. Snow respond?
No, she did not.
Now, what happened after this post was made?
A few things happened. People came to the carnival to harass us. Attendance dropped. We were called murderers. I mean, the economy had been struggling, but it was not something that we were worried about. And this wasn't just people not spending money. It was people not coming to the carnival at all. And the effect that it had was devastating.
You said that people harassed you. What does that mean?
People came to the carnival just to let us know how much they hated us. My employees were called murderers. It's not something a business owner should feel or have to go through. And I was genuinely scared for their safety. It was really hard.
What happened after these people came to the carnival?
After the people came to the carnival, we experienced a huge drop in attendance. And because of it, we had to close in September. This post, it was untrue. And now, my 100-year-old family tradition, it just died. Just like that.
Thank you, Ms. Honeycutt. Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions at this time.
We'll give the scoring judges just a minute before cross-examination.
Good morning, Ms. Honeycutt. How much money are you asking the court to reward you in this lawsuit?
Objection, Your Honor. This trial has been bifurcated. The amount of money that would go to either side is not relevant to this section of the trial.
Response?
Your Honor, I believe that this is relevant. Although the case is bifurcated, I'm not arguing what damages should be. I'm simply asking the plaintiff if she knows how much she's asking for.
All right, I'll overrule the objection.
Thank you, Your Honor. Would you like me to ask again?
Sure.
Ms. Honeycutt, how much money are you asking the court to reward you in this lawsuit?
Well, it's bifurcated. So I'm not really asking for a set amount. I'm asking for what I can get.
Ms. Honeycutt, you are asking for $2 million, aren't you?
It's bifurcated. I am.
And you acknowledge that financial difficulties were affecting Honeycutt Carnival even before the incident, right?
Because it was winter, yes.
And Ms. Honeycutt, you mentioned the carnival's importance to the community, yet you would agree that attendance was also declining before Sammy Snow's post, right?
Because it was winter. It makes sense. I mean, I don't think most people would bring their kids to a carnival when it's cold outside. It happens every year. We were expecting it. What we weren't expecting was the post.
So even before Sammy Snow's post, attendance and financials were already declining, isn't that right?
As it does every single year, because it was winter.
Isn't it true that you have an accountant who keeps track of your numbers throughout the year?
Yeah, you'll hear from him next.
And would you recognize these numbers if they were in court today?
Again, it's his job to deal with the numbers, so I don't look at them all that much. That's why we hired him.
But would you recognize the financial records of your carnival that you are the CEO of if they were here in court today?
I would recognize them, but again, I don't deal with exact numbers. That is not my job. I'm a CEO. I deal more with the people.
Thank you. Your Honor, let the record reflect I'm approaching opposing counsel of what has been previously marked as Exhibit 3. Permission to approach the clerk?
You may, and the witness.
Ms. Honeycutt, could you just tell the court what this is?
This is, I believe this is the graph that my accountant, Mr. Dorff, made.
And would you say it's a fair and accurate representation of your numbers?
I believe so.
Your Honor, it is at this time that the defense requests for Exhibit 3 to be entered into evidence as its authenticity has been stipulated.
Any objection?
Yes, Your Honor, I'd object under Rule 701. Ms. Honeycutt is not an expert in financials. She is not her accountant. She cannot testify to the specific numbers. And secondly, no foundation has been laid that she can, in fact, testify to these numbers, as Ms. Honeycutt cannot say that she knows specifically the numbers that are on this graph that was prepared by Mr. Dorff, her accountant.
She did say she's familiar with it, and I think some of your objection goes to what questions she may or may not be able to answer about the exhibit itself, but it doesn't go to the admissibility of the exhibit, so I'm gonna admit Exhibit 3 at this time.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor. And Ms. Honeycutt, just looking at the graph, not making any financial conclusions, from January 2024 up until April 2024, which is when the zipper malfunctioned, your profits decreased from $120,000 per month to $90,000 per month. Isn't that right?
It was winter. Yes.
But that is correct, right?
Yes, because it was winter. Expected.
And this is a decrease of about 25%, right?
That's all Morgan Dorff's job, but yeah.
And then during the month of April, after the zipper malfunctioned, but before Sammy Snow posted about it, your income decreased by about 33.3% from $90,000 to $60,000. Isn't that right?
That's also to be expected. It was after an accident, and so then we worked towards building back the community's trust, and that's the important part, is that we would gain back that trust and we would have an increase in profit in the summer, but then Sammy Snow's post happened, and we did not increase in the summer, and that is what is important.
But after Sammy Snow's post, income decreased by just $10,000, right?
It continued to decrease throughout the entire summer, which is the important part, because it was summer. We should have been having our most profitable season.
However, Ms. Honeycutt, it is accurate to say that profits decreased more in the months leading up to Sammy Snow's post after the incident than after Sammy Snow posted about the incident, isn't it?
Again, it was the summertime, so it was supposed to go up. The amount that it goes up or down, while I can't talk about it all that much because this is Morgan Dorff's job. From my understanding, the month after the accident, when it goes down, that was to be expected because there was an accident. But the big part is that it didn't go up again in the summer.
Okay,
and it
thank
continued
you,
to go
Ms.
down.
Honeycutt. You can set the exhibit aside now. And let's talk about the April 1st incident. You'd agree that the zipper ride malfunctioned, leaving riders stranded for about 3.5 hours, wouldn't you?
I'm sure it was very scary for them. It was very scary for us as well.
Yet despite this incident, you kept operating the zipper after the fact, didn't you?
We were able to fix the mechanical problem, and so what else to do besides move forward?
Ms. Honeycutt, you also testified that this isn't the first time one of your rides has malfunctioned, is it?
That's true. It's a carnival. Things happen.
You had a previous issue with a ride similar to the Zipper that also stranded riders, right?
The Thunderbolt in 2004, yes.
And this kind of safety issue isn't entirely new at Honeycutt Carnivals then, is it?
Well, I would say 2 issues in a span of 100 years is very, very good for a carnival. I would say that mechanical issues are not common, and 2 issues is a pretty good track record.
And you say that Sammy Snow's posts imply danger or death on the Zipper, but nowhere in actual physical typed out writing does Sammy Snow write dead or death or injured, does she?
But there's a skull emoji. I think that says enough.
But nowhere in actual physical typed out words does she say that.
I believe the skull emoji had to be typed out.
And you acknowledge that the post could have been meant as a joke, don't you?
I had hoped it was a joke, because, I mean, how can it possibly be serious? No one actually died. But then, the more I looked at it, the more serious it became. I mean, I guess some people would say that I'm funny. I can take a joke. This is not a joke. This killed my carnival. That's not funny.
But you do acknowledge that she could have meant it as a joke, right?
I don't see how she could have. I think I can't speak to Sammy Snow's.
Is it your sworn
Actions,
testimony today that you don't acknowledge that it could have been meant as a joke?
What I was gonna say is, I have no say about what Sammy Snow intended. I do not see it as a joke. It is not funny.
But you acknowledge that it could have been meant as a joke, right?
It could have been, but I don't see how.
Thank you. And you tried reaching out to Sammy Snow through one single Instagram DM, right?
I did.
And you never took any measures to publicly clarify through your carnival that Sammy Snow's post was inaccurate, did you?
We actually took out ads at Google Ads after the accident to let everyone know that it was okay. And there were real articles out that said that no one was hurt, and we assumed that people would look at the Cascadia News, the newspapers, the TV, and understand that it was false.
But you didn't take any public measures to clarify about Sammy Snow's post specifically, did you?
We're here today, are we not?
After Sammy Snow posted about it, you did not write any public, you didn't publicly clarify that Sammy Snow's post implied something, did you?
Objection, Your Honor, asked and answered.
I'll allow it, cross-examination, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor. And finally, was that the best that you could do to save your dying business?
It's a loaded question. I'm trying as hard as I can. Obviously, I'm here. A lawsuit is not cheap. I am just trying to get justice for my business because it was almost 100 years old. My family has been running it for so long, and it was such a beautiful place to bring
Thank you,
joy to
Ms.
the community.
Honeycutt. No further questions, Your Honor.
All right, we'll give our scoring judges a minute before we do any redirect.
Ms. Honeycutt, did you or any of your employees at any time try to communicate to the public that Ms. Snow's post was untrue?
Yes. Did you know that we'll talk about it later? People.
Objection, Your Honor. Out of the scope of this witness's affidavit.
Your Honor, if I may.
But I'm not sure about that, but you opened the door on cross asking her about it, so I'm gonna let her respond.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm sorry, continue.
Like I'm saying, yes. I mean, my employees were, I think, just as upset as I was because it was really hard seeing our carnivals closed. And so, yeah, people reached out and tried to let people know that no one was actually hurt, let alone killed.
Thank you. And lastly, what does the skull and crossbones in this image represent to you?
Death.
Thank you. No further questions.
You cross?
Yes, Your Honor. Ms. Honeycutt, as the Chief Executive Officer of Honeycutt Carnivals, you yourself never took any measures to publicly clarify anything about the zipper ride malfunction or Sammy Snow's post, did you?
Like I said, we took out ads, we let people know that no one was actually hurt, and we're here today.
Thank you. No further questions, Your Honor.
All right. Give our judges just a moment.
Morning, door to the staff.
Mr. Johnson, please raise your right hand. Do you promise the testimony you're about to give will faithfully and truthfully conform to the facts and rules of the mock trial competition?
I do.
You may be seated. Please state your full name and spell your last.
My name is Morgan Dorf. That's D-O-R-F.
Good morning, Mr. Dorf.
Good morning.
How are you connected to the Honeycutt Carnival?
Well, I've worked there for the past 25 years. I've been its accountant or financier, if you prefer, for all that time.
And what did being the financier at the carnival entail?
Well, I'd handle the accounts, manage the books, reasons for the profits to rise, reasons for them to fall. When it comes to handling the spreadsheets, I excel. Basically, anything related to profits, I handle it.
And do you have any other pertinent credentials as an accountant?
I do. I graduated with my degree in accounting back in 1995, became certified as a public accountant just 2 years later. I own an accounting firm here in Cascadia, and I've even published articles on the topic, including my one titled Social Media's Effect on Small Business Financial Health.
Your Honor, the plaintiff moves to recognize Mr. Dorf as an expert in the field of business finance.
Response?
No, Your Honor, as long as Morgan Dorf does not testify on the effects of social media on the carnival.
Okay, so I'll recognize him as an expert in the area of business finance, and you reserve all your objections. Any objections you want to make, any specific opinions that Mr. Dorf may offer at later times. All qualified, yes, in that finance area, but all objections reserved.
Thank you, Your Honor.
So let's get down to why you're here today. Have you formed an opinion on the finances of the Honeycutt Carnival?
I have.
And what is that opinion?
The decline in profits that we saw immediately following Snow's post killed the Honeycutt Carnival.
Let's talk about how you came to that conclusion. What did you see financially after the zipper incident?
After the zipper incident and the media coverage on it, there was, unsurprisingly, a decline in profits. However, and I cannot stress this enough, that decline was recoverable. And with the summer season coming up and everything like that, we expected to bounce back.
And what happened after the zipper incident?
Well, as I said, it was recoverable. However, that changed when Sammy Snow posted, and we saw that continued decline.
What did you notice about Sammy Snow's post?
Objection, Your Honor. Out of scope of the witness' expertise.
Your Honor, may I respond?
Well, the question was, what did this witness notice about the post? So I don't think that calls for an expert opinion. Again, to some extent, if it calls for, we get an opinion here, then you can, I'll let you review the objection, I'll hear the answer first.
Yes, sir.
I'll restate the question. What did you notice about Ms. Snow's post?
Well, the first thing I noticed, it had gotten hundreds of thousands of likes. And looking at it deeper, it had said that the Honeycutt Carnival got people killed, which is just lies, it's false, it's nonsense.
And after Ms. Snow's post, what happened to the finances of the carnival?
Immediately following Snow's post, our profits and our attendance, which is, our attendance is normally stable even through the most dire of times, declined more than expected, and we ended up having to shut down the carnival. I made a graph of profits to reflect this.
Right, so you have that graph in front of us. Can you explain it a little bit more to the members of the jury?
Certainly. Well, let me just start off by...
Just for reference, we're talking about Exhibit 3 here, right?
Yes, Your Honor, and I
Thank
believe
you.
opposing counsel and you
Yeah,
are
yeah,
a copy.
that's fine, go ahead.
Yeah, can you explain the graph to the jury?
Let me start off by just explaining what it shows. It shows the profits through our 2024 season, which the reason for 2024 is because that's the year with the zipper incident, that's the year with the post, and that's the year we had to shut down. It's the year that matters. Now, there's this red line about halfway through, and that corresponds with when Sammy Snow posted, and additionally, the start of our summer season.
Can you walk us through the finances of the carnival through the months?
Certainly. So from January to March here, we can see a slow, steady decline. Overall, what I expect given the season, nothing out of the ordinary. Now, from the end of March to the end of May, we see a much steeper decline. This is immediately following the zipper incident, so overall, what I expect, and like I said before, recoverable. However, where we change from what I would expect is immediately following this red line, immediately following Snow's post.
Before we talk about the rest of the months, what does a normal summer look like financially for the carnival?
Summer is traditionally our busiest season. We have the most attendance and the most profits. As such, I would have expected our profits to surpass the $120,000 of profits we see here in January. some point during the summer months.
And what did you see in 2024?
Rather than rising like a normal summer, we can see a continued decline, which puts us $50,000 to $70,000 minimum per month below expected profits immediately following snow's post.
Thank you, Mr. Dorf. Has any other incidents like this happened in the past?
There was one incident somewhat similar to this back towards the start of my tenure at the carnival in 2004, where one of our rides, the Thunderbolt, had a mechanical failure. Now, after this, we had a decline in attendance and a decline in profits. However, ultimately, we were able to recover. Now, it is my expert opinion that if we saw a continued decline, like we did after snow's post, following the 2004 incident, we would not have survived it either.
Thank you, Mr. Dorf. Your Honor, I have no further questions at this time.
All right, give our scoring judges a minute before we draw the examination.
Good morning, Mr. Dorf.
Good morning.
During your time at the Honeycutt Carnival, you stated the carnival ran smoothly for nearly a century, is that correct?
Correct. Overall, relatively smooth.
However, at times you ran into a few challenges, am I right?
Yes, minor ones.
And one of which was the recent closure of Honeycutt Carnival as a whole, correct?
I'd say that's about as big of an issue as we could have faced, yeah.
And Mr. Dorf, can you please refer to Exhibit 3, which has been previously entered?
Yep.
In January 2024, there was a reported profit of $120,000, correct?
Correct, give or take.
And by March 2024, the profit went down to about $110,000, is that correct?
Yeah, it's a 22% decline, like I said, expected.
And by April 2024, there was a reported profit of $90,000, is that correct?
Correct, directly after the zipper incident, so, like I said, expected.
So based on the exhibit, it shows that there was a decline before the April 1st zipper incident, correct?
Yes, it was winter, we had some stuff like that. It was overall expected decline and not particularly notable.
And this decline continues after the April 1st zipper incident, am I right?
Correct, after the zipper incident, there was unsurprisingly a recoverable loss in profits.
However, Mr. Dorf, before Sammy's May 31st repost, you believe things were going to even out, correct?
Exactly, with summer months coming up and everything like that, we were going to see a rise in profits and we would have been able to recover.
However, it didn't even out from April 1st to May 31st, am I right?
Correct.
In fact, there was more money lost before the defendant's repost, but after April 1st zipper incident than after Sammy's post, correct?
If I were to give a line of expected profits here, we could see the difference, it would look a little different, but as it stands, yes.
About a 33% decrease, correct?
Between what, 2 months?
Sorry?
Between what months were you referring to?
April 1st to May 31st.
Yes, give or take.
Mr. Dorf, multiple news outlets reported about the zipper incident before Sammy's repost, correct?
Of course, they got all the facts straight and everything like that.
And Sammy's repost was 2 months after the zipper incident, am I right?
Exactly, at the start of our summer season where we would have seen an increase in profits.
So Honeycutt Carnival would have had 2 months of media recovery, correct?
Yeah, we had time to recover, we had time to prepare for our summer season, so the profits would have gone up.
And there would have also been at least 2 months of factual media recovery from news outlets like Channel 5, correct?
Well, generally they don't do a lot of coverage after the first week or so, but yes.
Is it possible that people's perception of the carnival changed simply because it had happened and been factually reported on?
Objection, Your Honor. Speculation under Rule 602. Mr. Dorf can't testify to what other people may think or not think, and therefore this question is inadmissible under Rule 602.
Response?
Your Honor, I'll move on.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Mr. Dorf, if I were to show you your CV today, would you recognize a code for it?
Of course.
Your Honor, let the record reflect I'm approaching opposing counsel with what has been previously marked as Exhibit 6. Permission to approach the witness.
You may.
One for the clerk. Is this a fair and accurate representation of your CV?
Looks like it.
And it's familiar, correct?
Naturally.
Your Honor, at this time, I ask for Exhibit 6 to be entered into evidence as its authenticity has been stipulated.
Is there any objection?
No objections, Your Honor.
Right, exhibit 6 is admitted.
Thank you. Now, Mr. Dorf, can you read under section Notable Cases and Consultations, Hayden Honeycutt versus Sammy Snow?
Yes, Hayden Honeycutt v. Sammy Snow, expert witness for the plaintiff.
Can you read the little paragraph under?
Of course. Provided testimony regarding the financial losses Honeycutt Carnival experienced after Snow's social media post. Presented presented detailed profits and loss statements showing that despite prior decline, the social media attention was a critical factor in the carnival's closure.
And is it your testimony in today's case that you believe that after Sammy Snow's repost, that Sammy Snow's repost was the sole cause of Carnival's closure?
Sole cause? No. Very critical factor? Yes.
You don't say that it's the sole cause of the Carnival's closure?
Nothing in finances can be considered in isolation. That's not how any accountant should do their job. Well, there had been some minor other factors, and factors that were both positive and negative, like the summer season would have been a positive factor. Ultimately, Sammy Snow's post was the most critical and by far the most major cause for the carnival's decline and eventual closure.
So that's a yes to my question that you can't say for certain?
I can't say for certain that it was the only cause, yes.
And is that your sworn testimony today?
That it's not the only.
Sole cause, yes.
Yes.
Sorry. Your Honor, may I approach the witness with a copy of the affidavit?
You may.
Can you read can you follow along while I read line 105?
105?
Yes. In my professional opinion, the closure of Honeycutt Carnival was caused solely by the attention and reaction from Sammy Snow's repost.
Objection, Your Honor. Under Rule 802, Mr. Dorf's affidavit is hearsay. It's an out-of-court statement being used to prove the truth of the matter asserted.
Response?
Your Honor, it contradicts their testimony today, which I believe it's a reasonable.
May I begin, Your Honor?
You may be heard, yes.
I don't believe Mr. Dorf has made a contradiction to his testimony, as he has stated that it wasn't the sole cause, and in his affidavit, he also he states that it's caused by the attention and reaction to the carnival's post, which is a different statement than which is consistent with what he stated in court, and therefore this is not being used for impeachment and is still an out-of-court statement for the truth of the matter asserted.
So, I think your argument goes to the weight to be given to the testimony, not the admissibility. There is different language between the CV and Exhibit 6, critical factor, and line 105 of the sworn statement, so I will admit it.
Yes, Your Honor. And let me direct you to line 129 of your affidavit.
Line 1.
Yes.
Yeah.
I believe without a doubt that the Honeycutt Carnival was forced to close due to the fallout from Sammy Snow's social media posts. Did I read that correctly?
Exactly. That is what caused our decline.
Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions. And may I approach the witness for the copy of the affidavit?
You may.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Dorf, in court today, you testified that that Ms. Snow's post was a critical factor. And in your affidavit, you also said that the Honeycutt Carnival was forced to close due to fallout from Sammy Snow's media post, correct?
Exactly.
Objection, Your Honor. Leading question.
I'm gonna take that as foundational to clarify his statement. So that's the first question, so now you've got one more follow-up.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor. And can you explain just why you believe the post was such a critical factor in the closing of the Honeycutt Carnival?
Exactly. The post was such a critical factor because the fallout and reaction from the post were the two causes that caused the decline and caused the closure of the carnival. The post was the sole factor insofar as it caused those. It was not the sole factor insofar as the post itself, the words, would have. If a post is made in a world and no one sees it, it has no value. The reaction from Sammy Snow's post and from everyone seeing it was the sole factor for the decline and closure of the Honeycutt Carnival, as I have said today.
Thank you, Mr. Dorf. Your Honor, I have no further questions.
Thank you. Ms. Ross?
No, Your Honor.
All right, the witness is excused.
Mr. Mayor, please raise your right hand. Do you promise that the testimony you are about to give will faithfully and truthfully conform to the facts and rules of the mock trial competition?
Yes, I do.
You may be seated. Please state your full name and spell your last.
Denny Nugget, Nugget.
Good morning, Mr. Nugget.
Good morning.
Let's talk about your job at the carnival. What did you do?
Yeah, so I operated the Zipper. It's a ride that operates on a double axis, obviously for double the fun, but my true calling is as a filmmaker. I'd say I watch a movie a day, and I'm never gonna give up on my passion, just like Rocky didn't give up in every single movie.
And just to clarify for the jury, has anyone ever gotten hurt on the Zipper?
Thankfully, no. There have been some minor incidents, but that's it. Safety was a huge part of our company culture.
And what was that company culture?
We really went along with their slogan, people, safety, fun. I even had a shirt that said it on the back. We were pretty in touch with the community too.
And how did the carnival put safety first?
Hayden would make us watch this really long safety video, albeit with pretty terrible acting. I watch a lot of movies. When something would go wrong, like the Zipper breaking down in April, we made sure to fix it super fast, like Lightning McQueen.
And I want to talk about your experience after that event. Did anything change at the carnival after the Zipper incident?
Not at first. Not until Sammy Snow made that repost.
And did anything change after Sammy Snow's post?
Yeah, people came to the carnival to protest. They were coming in and yelling, and it kind of felt like they were there to harass me. It was really terrible. It was.
And specifically, were there any instances of people you talked to?
Yeah, I had a friend actually call me and say they weren't.
Objection, Your Honor, hearsay.
Response?
Your Honor, statement is about the friend's reaction, and therefore it's being used for the effect on the listener that Ms. Snow's post had on Mr. Nugget's friend, not for the truth of the matter asserted that the carnival actually got people killed or that they were murderers.
Okay, so effect not truth response?
Your Honor, I'm okay with it being admitted as long as the jury is instructed that it's not for truth of the matter.
Okay, it'll be admitted, not being up to the truth.
Thank you, Your Honor.
So, Mr. Nugget, what did your friend tell you?
They told me they weren't coming to the carnival because they thought people died. It was totally untrue. No one died.
And Mr. Nugget, do you know who your friend follows on social media?
Oh yeah, they followed Sammy Snow.
Now, I'd like to move on to what the protesters you mentioned earlier. What did you notice about them?
So they were wearing Sammy Snow's face on their shirts, and they were chanting something. It was G to the V. Overall, it was pretty scary.
And were there any specific instances with these protesters physically at the carnival?
Oh my goodness, yes. One couple went up and just threw a milkshake at me. It was terrible. It was like I was being labeled as a murderer.
And what did you do about this whole situation?
I tried to make a post about it, but unlike Sammy Snow's ultra popular post, mine didn't make much ground. All I got were comments from the Snowfall telling me I was a murderer. It was really a shame because we only ever had minor incidents.
Thank you, Mr. Nugget. Your Honor, I have no further questions at this time.
All right.
Mr. Nugget, in your time with the Zipper, there were continuously issues, yes?
Only minor issues, except for this one in April where we got everyone down pretty fast.
And you admit to not paying attention to the ride safety orientation video you were instructed to watch, yes?
Safety was part of our whole carnival. It was our slogan. It was in our slogan. I would say that that video was just a small part of it, and again, the terrible acting, I have to say.
So the carnival put you, a hot dog chef who barely watched the safety video, in charge of the Zipper that consistently had issues anyways, didn't they?
Whoa. Well, I did go on to operating the Zipper, and I still had.
Your Honor, misleading the jury under Rule 403. This question is misleading the jury as it's implying the carnival employed Mr. Nugget as a hot dog chef, and they were putting him in charge of the Zipper. However, Mr. Nugget was trained on the safety precautions of the Zipper, and therefore this question
Objection's overruled.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Nugget, I'd like to discuss Charlie Baggins. Charlie Baggins was your former coworker at Honeycutt Carnival, yes?
That's correct.
And you would frequently hang out outside of work and text, right?
We were close in like coworker basis, yeah.
Do you recall text between you and Mr. Baggins on January 10th and 23rd, 2024?
Mm-hmm.
Would you recognize these if you saw them here in court today?
Sure.
Your Honor, I'm approaching opposing counsel with what has been previously marked as Exhibit 5. Permission to approach the clerk and witness.
You may.
Mr. Nugget, would you say this is a fair and accurate representation of those messages?
Yeah.
Your Honor, it is at this time that the defense request to enter what has been previously labeled as Exhibit 5 into evidence.
Is there any objection?
Yes, Your Honor. Under Rule 802, this exhibit is inadmissible as it is hearsay. Additionally, I'd like to specify that under Rule 805, it's hearsay within hearsay. Specifically, Mr. Nugget's text about Hayden Honeycutt's statement about the Honeycutt Carnival.
Okay, and for purposes of arguing this, exhibit, can we agree that we're gonna focus on what you both sides really care about is the text message that starts out, "Ha, not great."
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so we have a double hearsay objection to that statement. Defense response.
Your Honor, I'm not offering this text for the truth of the matter of whether or not the carnival was struggling, or even if Mr. Nugget overheard Hayden actually say that. I'm simply offering it for Mr. Nugget's perception and Charlie Baggins' impacted perception of the carnival's business.
Response?
Your Honor, I believe that if opposing counsel is not using this for the truth of the matter asserted, that numbers weren't doing so great at the carnival, Mr. Nugget and Mr. Baggins' perceptions are not relevant to the claim of defamation. They don't go to prove the claim of defamation as much as they have prejudicial value if no truth of the matter is being asserted in this statement.
Okay, response to that?
Your Honor, may I briefly confer with co-counsel?
You may.
Thank you. Your Honor?
Yes.
I believe that Charlie Baggins' perception of the carnival is relevant because it goes to show why he made the post, which goes for the post's intent and why Sammy Snow may have reposted it.
May I be heard, Your Honor?
You may.
I believe that regardless of Mr. Baggins' intent, the statement is still being used for the truth of the matter asserted. If it is entered into the evidence and the jury is shown this exhibit, it's impossible to separate the truth of the matter asserted that numbers aren't doing so great and people have been at the park less from these statements. The inherent truth of the matter asserted is going to be presented to the jury.
So the defense is arguing not offering for the truth of the matter asserted, which would make it not hearsay, but if it is not being offered for the truth of the matter asserted, I don't believe it's relevant, or under 402 or 401, and in any event, under 403, the prejudicial effect would outweigh the relevance. So Exhibit 5, the objection is sustained, and Exhibit 5 will not be admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Nugget, you don't like Sammy Snow, do you?
Objection, Your Honor. Prejudicial, more prejudicial than appropriate under Rule 403, I believe.
Overruled.
Mr. Nuggets. Okay. Yes, Your Honor.
Do you need me to repeat my question?
Yes, please.
You don't like Sammy Snow, do you?
There have definitely been times where I'm not a fan of my boss, but I think that goes for everyone.
Sammy Snow, not Hayden
Oh,
Honeycutt.
oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. No, definitely not.
And after only briefly meeting her, you claim that she appears fake, right?
Yeah, I mean, they just were with a fake post.
Thank you for your time, Mr. Nugget. That'll be all. No further questions, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor, briefly. Mr. Nugget, has your perception of Sammy Snow influenced your testimony in this trial in any way?
No,
And everything you've told on the stand today is the truth, correct?
100%.
Objection, Your Honor. That was a leading question.
Well, it was, but it is also a closed question. And it's been answered. Yeah, rephrase the question.
Thank you, Your Honor.
It was,
Thank you, Your Honor. Is everything you've told on the stand today the truth?
I believe that 100%. Everything I've said is completely true.
Thank you, Mr. Nugget. Your Honor, I have no further questions.
all right, witness may step down.
The plaintiff rests his case in chief.
Okay,
The defense calls Sammy Snow to the stand.
Ms. Eaton, please raise your right hand. Do you promise that the testimony you are about to give will faithfully and truthfully conform to the facts and rules of the mock trial competition?
I do.
You may be seated. Please state your full name and spell your last.
My name is Sammy Snow, and that is S-N-O-W.
Good morning, Miss Snow. Thank you for being here today. Can you start by telling the court a little bit about yourself?
Oh my gosh, of course. So I love this question. Like I said, my name is Sammy Snow. I am from California, LA native. I graduated from the University of Southern California, fight on, with a bachelor's degree in social media artistry, which has helped me on my path to become an influencer.
So you're an influencer. How's that going for you?
I'd say it's going pretty good. You know, I've really built up a brand for myself. I have about 4 million followers overall, 996K on my main account on Instagram, at Sammy Snow Official. Give it a follow after this. And yeah, you know, I really built a brand for myself.
Have you been making decent or good money in this job?
Yeah, so the income's been pretty solid. And you know, it's not as if I don't need the money. It's really helped alleviate some of that student loan debt. And when my parents had a serious medical condition, so it's really helped, you know, kind of help alleviate some of that financial stress. Plus, I like to partake in a little Erewhon smoothie every now and again, so you can't blame a girl.
So how has this lawsuit affected you?
Oh my gosh, my life went from social media content creating to nothing but courtrooms and lawyers and suits and
Objection, Your Honor. This is prejudicial under Rule 403. The effect on the witness of this court case has substantially more prejudicial value than probative.
response?
Your Honor, I was simply just trying to get the court familiar with the witness that I can.
Okay.
Thank you. So how did you become familiar with the Honeycutt Carnival?
So I originally became familiar with the Honeycutt Carnival back in 2021. There had been some pretty bad press surrounding it regarding an accident that had happened. There's a lot of buzz going on. I think someone might have died, but I don't really know for sure. And I was a buzz.
Objection, Your Honor. Unfair extrapolation. Within the witness's affidavit, it is stated that they had no reason to believe that anyone had died on line 90.
How is that different than what the witness just said?
The witness has just stated that they think somebody had died, which directly contradicts their affidavit.
Your Honor, may I be heard?
You may.
The witness was just testifying to something they heard years ago about a separate incident. It does not apply to this case necessarily. I'm just trying to get out how my witness became familiar with the carnival in the first place.
Okay, yeah, I think we're talking about two different things here. So this is referring to back to what at least the lawyers know was the 2004.
Yes, Your Honor, in that case, it would be misleading the jury, seeing as it is not directly related to this incident.
Well, I'm gonna allow it as background for, again, it's not being offered, it's what the witness heard, it's not being offered to the jury, so.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor. Would you like me to restate the question?
Yes, please.
So how did you become familiar with the Honeycutt Carnival?
Yeah, like I said, back in 2021, there had been some kind of accident, and there was a lot of really bad press surrounding the carnival. There was potential conversation of someone maybe dying, but like I said, I really don't know. And I was a budding influencer, so I decided to offer up my services to the carnival, you know, try to help them get back on their feet and get some better press surrounding them.
And is this where you first met Miss Honeycutt?
Yes, it is, since Honeycutt's the CEO of Honeycutt Carnival. She's the one I had to talk to kind of get things going.
And did you make any offer to Miss Honeycutt?
Yeah, I offered up a brand ambassadorship. You know, I promote the carnival from my platform, like I said, to help get them some better press and publicity.
And did Miss Honeycutt accept any offer you made?
No, that's the thing, she didn't, but you know, that's okay. Business is business, and I use that as self-motivation to become a better influencer. Help myself work harder, you know?
Now, as for the zipper incident at Honeycutt Carnival, when did you first hear about it?
I actually first heard about it on May 31st. I saw this funny little Instagram post posted by who I now know to be Charlie Baggins about the carnival, and I thought it was funny, and I reposted it.
And was this, sorry. And did you first hear about it the same day that you made the repost?
Yes, I did.
Thank you. Did this post belong to you originally?
Oh, let's make that very clear. It did not belong to me originally. Charlie Baggins posted it first, created everything. The only thing I personally wrote on that post was "won't be back." Everything else was Charlie Baggins.
And did the post appear true to you at all when you first saw it?
I don't really know what there was to be true about it. It was very just a vague statement about the carnival, and I just took it as a joke, and I thought my followers would too.
And how long after the zipper incident did you make this repost?
I actually made the repost about 2 months after the accident.
Now, were you aware at all that your followers had visited the carnival following your post?
No, I was not until today.
And did you instruct your followers to do this at all?
I did not.
Thank you. Now, have you spoken to Honeycutt at all since this case has begun?
The only time I've communicated with Honeycutt wasn't even with Honeycutt. Her lawyers reached out about something about the refurbishment of the zipper, but other than that, there's been no communication.
Thank you. No further questions, Your Honor.
Okay.
Yes, Your Honor. Let's discuss your history with the Honeycutt Carnival. As you mentioned, you tried to offer your services as an influencer to the carnival, didn't you?
Yes, I did. I offered up a brand ambassadorship to Hayden Honeycutt.
And Hayden Honeycutt laughed you off, didn't she?
Yeah, Hayden Honeycutt said a lot of hurtful things, but right now, at this point in time, business is business.
Exactly. Hayden Honeycutt called you unserious, said you were just a kid, and that you would never be famous.
Yep, those exact words.
And you took that personally, didn't you?
Yeah, at the time, that was back in 2021, I took it personally, but you know, at the time, business is business, and you can't get too upset about those things, and like I said, I took it in stride, and I used it to grow to become a better, stronger influencer.
Thank you, Ms. Snow. And in 2024, when you saw this post, you remembered your experience at the carnival.
Yes, I did, and I found it relatable and funny, got a little giggle out of me, and I reposted it thinking other people would think the same. You know, I post content towards Cascadia, and Honeycutt Carnival is a staple in Cascadia, so
Thank you. Let's talk about that post. And just to clarify, this is the same post that says Hayden and the Honeycutt Carnival got people skull emoji for a ride with the image of a person falling off of a ride.
Yeah, but the only thing I wrote was "won't be back."
Alright, now, you had no reason to believe that anybody actually fell off a ride at the Honeycutt Carnival.
Yeah,
Exactly, you had no reason to believe anyone was hurt, and you had no reason to believe anyone had died. Alright, now, you didn't do any research to see if this was true.
I've been in this game a long time, and I kind of know when things need to be verified, stuff like that, and yeah, I saw no reason to. Like I said, been in this game a long time, I used my best judgment.
And you posted it anyway, thinking you would get likes, and thinking you would get engagement.
Yeah, that's part of the job. I thought my followers would find it funny and relatable and get a laugh out of them. We kind of wavelength on things like that. So I reposted it. It's part of my job. One of the quickest ways I can get interactions is through reposts. And I thought it'd be a
Thank
funny
you,
joke.
Ms. Snow. We do have limited time, so I'd ask that you keep your responses relatively short. Let's talk about that specific engagement. You have over 4 million followers across 5 platforms.
That's correct.
And you have over 996,000 followers on Instagram.
Just about, yeah.
And your slogan is V to the G.
No, it's G to the V.
Apologies. Now, you heard yourself testify earlier in court today that it was your followers who went to the Honeycutt Carnival.
It was my followers, but I didn't tell them to do that.
Alright, and you heard Denny Nugget testify that these followers were chanting G to the V.
Yeah, but like I said, I didn't ask them to do that, I didn't tell them to do that, and nor do I condone the behavior that they did.
But that's a yes to my question. It was your followers who were chanting that.
Yes, but like I said, I do not condone their actions.
Let's talk about how your audience perceives your work. You post a lot of reviews, don't you?
Yeah, along with other stuff.
And these reviews are generally what gives you the most engagement.
Objection, Your Honor, relevance?
Yes, Your Honor. I am simply laying foundation for my further questions about why this witness would post reviews in the past and how they would post reviews in the future, asserting their trait of truthfulness.
Objections overruled.
Thank you, Your Honor.
In the past, you repost reviews, isn't that right?
Some of my content is reviews, yes.
And these reviews are generally what gives you the most engagement.
Among other things. Yeah.
Objection, Your Honor. Counsel is testifying, not asking questions.
This is cross, I'll allow the leading questions.
Yes, Your Honor. Now, in the past, you have specifically reposted negative information about businesses. Is that correct?
That's a tricky one because the information in the past that I would repost, I believe what they're referencing is a couple business reviews about certain things that businesses were doing that I didn't necessarily agree with or think was right. So yes, I would repost things because the businesses were doing things that were wrong.
Alright, for example, you reposted information about a local coffee shop marketing their non-organic coffee as organic.
Yeah, and I posted about that and it was the truth.
And you reposted local movie theaters uncleanliness, is that correct?
Yeah, because the theater was uncleanly.
Exactly. In both of those instances, you reposted the truth. Isn't that right?
Yeah, it was.
Alright, and in this instance, you're saying that you reposted a joke.
Yeah, I do that from time to time. My followers and I wavelength, so.
Alright, and you didn't add in your caption that this post was a joke.
I didn't feel like I needed to.
And you didn't verbalize to your audience that it was a joke.
Like I said, me and my followers, we get it. I post stuff like that from time to time. They're familiar with my content. And I've been in this game a long time, and so I know when that kind of thing is necessary, and I didn't see it as necessary.
Exactly. They're familiar with your content, and you testified previously that in the content, you have, in the past, reposted true negative information about businesses. Is that correct?
That's correct, but I've also reposted jokes.
And in this instance, you made no attempt to clarify or specify to your audience that it was a joke.
I didn't see what there was to clarify. There was no specific statement on that post about anything happening at Honeycutt Carnival. I saw nothing to clarify.
So that's a yes to my question? That you did not clarify or verbalize to your audience that it was a joke?
Yes, because there's nothing to clarify or verbalize.
Thank you, Ms. Snow. Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions at this time.
All right, we'll give our
Yes, Your Honor. Miss Snow, could you please describe for us the differences between your reviews and the jokes that you post on your page?
Well, the reviews are serious and about things that directly pertain to the business and things I know to exist. The things that are just jokes are merely that. Jokes.
Thank you. And how often do you post reviews?
On occasion, you know, I
Objection, Your Honor, unfair extrapolation. This is not contained within the witness's direct statement of how much they post reviews. Specifically, at the beginning of their affidavit, they state that they generally post things like restaurant recommendations, short blogs around their infants around Cascadia. That is not any specific map that this witness can testify to and is therefore an unfair extrapolation.
Response?
Your Honor, may I rephrase the question?
You may.
Miss Snow, how often do you post recommendations on your page?
It's kind of a rotating thing. I post a lot of different stuff. You know, just different things to keep my followers engaged. It's a wide variety, most of it usually pertaining to Cascadia since that's my target audience.
Thank you. No further questions, Your Honor.
All right. Ms. Cross?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Witness is excused.
The defense calls Charlie Baggins to the stand.
Mr. Johnston, please raise your right hand. Do you promise that the testimony you're about to give will faithfully and truthfully conform to the facts and rules of the mock trial competition?
I do.
Thank you. You may be seated. Please state your full name and spell your last.
Hi guys, my name is Charlie Baggins. That's Baggins.
Good morning, Mr. Baggins, and could you please introduce yourself to the jury?
Good morning. Like I said, my name is Charlie Baggins, although you might know me as @InTheBaggins. I'm kind of an aspiring social media influencer, just trying to kind of build my brand. Go ahead and give me a follow after this.
And Mr. Baggins, how are you connected to the Honeycutt Carnival?
I worked there for around 5 years before my time was unfortunately cut short and I was fired.
And Mr. Baggins, what was your experience like working at the carnival?
You know, initially I was really excited about my job and just happy to be working on a new place. I really consider myself kind of a go-getter. I like to put 100% into everything I do. But not long after I started working there, I started to notice some really disturbing things that were happening at the carnival.
And Mr. Baggins, could you just elaborate a little bit about some of your concerns about the carnival?
Of course, I mean, where do I even start? You know, down at the concession stand, there was food that was expired being resold to paying customers, which I just find completely disgusting. There were also just ride safety rules being blatantly ignored, which directly contradicts their motto, people, safety, fun. And I think that Hayden might have even been skimming money from the business and bribing the local ride inspectors.
Objection, Your Honor. This is prejudicial under Rule 403. This is being used to bias the witness against Hayden Hardy, which this prejudicial value substantially outweighs the probative in this instance.
Response?
Your Honor, I believe that since today's case is about defamation, and to prove defamation, plaintiff has to demonstrate specifically that Sammy Snow is the reason that the carnival was facing harm and financial downturn, that it's important to establish other factors that may have contributed and directly contradict the plaintiff's claims.
Okay, I think the witness just stated his belief of what might be happening, which I think goes to the, so I think the objection goes to the weight, not the admissibility, so I'll allow the answer.
Thank
Yes,
you, Your Honor.
And I'll also clarify though that you're certainly welcome to inquire about witnesses' knowledge of that on cross-examination if you so desire.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. And Mr. Baggins, what did Honeycutt tell you was the reason you were fired?
He told me I was fired for poor performance.
And Mr. Baggins, when were you fired?
I was fired directly after I began to bring up some of my issues and concerns about the carnival safety, which honestly I find very disheartening because, you know, Hayden claims
Objection.
to...
Your Honor, this is character evidence under Rule 404, as it is being used to prove action in accordance with how Hayden Honeycutt has disregarded safety once, and that Hayden Honeycutt would do it again.
Response?
Your Honor, I don't believe that this testimony is going to show that. I'm simply asking my witness about his experience working for Hayden Honeycutt. Not trying to make any assertions about Hayden Honeycutt safety regulations.
Well, response to that?
Your Honor, it is not the regulations I'm referring to, rather the exact character trait of Miss Honeycutt. Additionally, if this is not being used to show action in accordance, it has very little probative value in this instance, and therefore the only actual weight it would carry is that of character evidence and of action in accordance, which is inadmissible under Rule 404.
Yeah, so if you're not offering it for action in accordance, I'm not clear what it's being offered for. Could you restate the question again? Not only give the answer, but the question.
Mr. Baggins, when were you fired?
Is that?
Your Honor, it is the response I'm referring to.
Okay. So, the question, yeah, the question itself is not objectionable, but I think we need to have an answer that responds to the question in order for me to evaluate it. So I'm gonna strike the answer. You're reserving your objection, but you're reserving your right to ask further questions as well. So we're gonna do a reset here and start.
Thank you.
Yes, Your Honor.
And Mr. Baggins, when were you fired?
I was fired directly after I brought up my safety concerns with the carnival to Miss Hayden Honeycutt.
And Mr. Baggins, could you explain what the financial state of the carnival was like?
Oh, I mean, it was a sinking ship. Denny told me it was falling apart long before I or
Objection,
Sammy.
Your Honor. This is improper opinion testimony by lay witness. In order for something to be testimony by lay witness, it must be rationally based on the witness's perception. This witness has not worked at the carnival for a long time. Additionally, it must be not based on scientific, technical, or other specialized knowledge under Rule 701 sub 3, which this is based on specialized and technical knowledge that we heard Morgan Dorff talk about earlier.
Well, do you want to respond to that?
Yes, Your Honor. I don't believe that I'm asking Mr. Baggins to draw any particular financial conclusions, as I know he's not a financial expert. I simply want to ask, as an employee of the carnival, what his experience with how the finances of the carnival were doing.
Okay. So, I'm ready to move. So, there was not a problem with the question. I heard two parts of one part answered, and then the second part, and then the objection was made. The first part of the answer was just a general impression, which I don't think is an expert opinion, it's just his impression. I'll allow that. The second part I started to hear was Denny told me, and then there was an objection. That part, I assume that could get into a hearsay issue. So before the witness testifies as to what, if you want to ask the witness anything else, what he knows about it besides what Denny told him, you can do that. If you want to ask him what Denny told him, please make that a separate question, and then we'll see if there's an objection and how that plays out.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
I'll move on. Mr. Baggins, could you talk a little bit about the post that you made?
Of course. I still chuckle just even thinking about it. I made a funny post about the zipper malfunction. It wasn't that serious, just content to continue to grow my following.
And what prompted you to make the post in the first place?
Well, the topic was already trending basically everywhere online. I mean, as an influencer, it's our job to post relevant and eye-catching content, and that's all I was doing, making a funny joke that aligned with the topics that were already trending online.
And what were your intentions for making the post?
Like any influencers, to get likes and follows, nothing more.
Could you explain to the jury the process that you went through to create this post?
Of course. I used AI to help me generate the image that I posted. I asked it to add a man falling out of the ride to make it a little bit more scary, although it really didn't quite deliver exactly what I was asking for, because after the image was generated, the person I asked to be falling out of the ride looked less like a person and more like an alien stick figure type creature. It was obviously fake.
And Mr. Baggins, could you explain to the jury why you think that it was clear that the post was AI generated?
Yeah, like I said, the person falling out of the ride doesn't even look human, and all the colors on the image are way oversaturated. Not even to mention that the sign on the image says Honeycutt Festival, not Carnival.
And Mr. Baggins, finally, what do you think about Honeycutt Carnival's closing?
You know, honestly, I think it's pretty disappointing. I think it was a cool place in our community and had the opportunity to be really special to the local Cascadians, but I just really wish that they had taken safety as seriously as they claimed to have took it.
Thank you. No further questions, Your Honor.
All right?
Yes, Your Honor. Before I cross, I would like to request a time check on how much we have remaining.
The plaintiff has 9 minutes flat remaining for direct or cross-examination.
Mr. Baggins, I'd like to clarify a few things. When you worked at the Honeycutt Carnival, you were fired in March of 2023. Is that right?
That sounds about right.
And it's currently March of 2025.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Thank you. Now, you're an influencer, aren't you?
Well, at least I'm trying to be, you know. I'm just kind of trying to build my brand and get as many likes and follows as I can. I wouldn't say I'm necessarily as popular as I want to be yet, but all you can do is grow, right?
And as an influencer, one of the things you do is create posts. Is that correct?
All the time. I just love making funny content. I mean, what I typically like to make is dark humor.
Thank you, Mr. Baggins. Now, let's refer to one of those posts in particular. Do you have a copy of Exhibit 1A in front of you?
Right.
You created the image in this exhibit using AI, yes?
That's correct. I used AI to make the image.
And you specifically instructed AI to add a person falling off the ride in order to make it look more scary.
Yeah, you know, I mean, I think in modern pop culture and media, terror and death kind of excites us, and I thought it'd be really eye-catching to my audience. So I did ask it to add a person falling out of the ride to make it a little bit more scary,
And this
although
ride was
it really doesn't look much like a person at all.
And this ride was meant to be the zipper ride at the Honeycutt Carnival, is that correct?
Yes, it was.
Alright. And as far as you knew, nobody actually fell off the ride.
No, I didn't think it'd be too inconsiderate to post, considering the fact that no one actually got hurt or died on the ride.
Exactly. The text saying, hey then the Honeycutt Carnival got people skull emoji for a ride, as far as you knew and what you just testified to is nobody actually died at the carnival.
Nope, I just thought it'd be a funny dark humor post, especially because the place was already a little sketchy, so I thought that it would kind of get some good interactions from my audience.
Now let's discuss the comparative impact of this post. I'm now retrieving what has previously been marked as Exhibit 2, and I'm handing a copy to opposing counsel. Permission to approach the clerk and the witness.
May?
I'm now handing a copy to the clerk and showing a copy to the witness. Is this a fair and accurate copy of your and Sammy Snow's Instagram profiles?
Yeah, those look about right.
Your Honor, I now move to enter Exhibit 2 into evidence. Its authenticity has been stipulated.
Is there any objection?
Yes, Your Honor. Hearsay?
Response?
Your Honor, I'm not using this to prove the truth of the matter asserted, which hearsay must be under Rule 801 sub 3 sub b, seeing as I am not using it to prove that Sammy Snow's bio is accurate or Charlie Baggins' bio is accurate. In fact, I'm not even using it to prove a statement. I'm merely going to be referring to follower counts on both of the accounts.
Response?
Your Honor, I withdraw my objection.
Okay, then Exhibit 2 will be admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. Now, you have 601 followers on Instagram, is that correct?
That's correct.
And your posts are meant to be fun, over the top, and sometimes even ridiculous.
Yeah, that's the entire point of my whole account, you know?
And Sammy Snow has 977,000 followers on Instagram.
Yeah, that's a lot more than me. I'm kind of hoping to get to that point eventually.
Objection, Your Honor, relevance.
Response? This is another situation where we have kind of a two-part answer, so,
Your Honor, the fact that Sammy Snow has 977,000 followers on Instagram, and the comparison between that and Charlie Baggins' follower amount would directly go to show the harms of defamation, with how Sammy Snow would have greater reach and therefore greater harm, which makes them liable for defamation.
that's relevant. Could we have the question again and the answer? That was the first part of the answer, but then I think the answer, we got something else, so let's do a reset again.
And Sammy Snow has 977,000 followers on Instagram.
That is correct, yes.
And you cannot testify to them having the same fun, over the top, and sometimes even ridiculous nature of their posts.
Obviously,
Objection, Your Honor, out of the scope of my witness.
Well, out of the scope of the record, the scope of the witness, you're asking the witness about his only posts?
Yes, Your Honor, or actually I was referring to how the witness cannot testify to Sandy Snow's nature. However, that is not outside of the scope of their testimony, seeing as under Rule 3, a cross-examiner can ask questions pertaining to what is not contained within the affidavit and the lack of information, which is my question since I said, can you testify to?
Right, it's not, the cross is not limited to direct, so I'm gonna allow the question, and you can, if you think it's going too far, you can review your objection.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'll restate it. You cannot testify to Sandy Snow having the same fun, over-the-top, and sometimes even ridiculous nature as you.
No, I think me and Sammy Snow do have different content, but as influencers, we both have to post eye-catching stuff, and that doesn't mean it can't align. You know, all of us influencers tend to enjoy funny, humorous, dark humor type posts, and
Of course.
I think that's what we were both kind of going for with the AI-generated image of the zipper post. You know, it was nothing more than just a little silly joke about
Mr.
what
Baggins,
happened
I'm
that
gonna
day.
need to cut you off. We do have limited time on cost, though you're welcome to address this on direct. So, Sammy Snow is a much bigger influencer than you.
Yeah, obviously I'm a
Objection,
little
Your
bit.
Honor, counsel is testifying.
Leading cross-examination, I'll allow it.
Thank you, Your Honor. Is that a yes, Sammy Snow is a much bigger influencer than you?
Obviously, I mean, look at her follower count. I'm hoping to get there at some point, though.
And do you believe that bigger influencers can take something small and blow it up? Isn't that right?
Yeah, that's exactly what Sammy did with my post. I was a little bit jealous that her repost of my original post gained more traction, but honestly, that's just business.
And Sammy Snow reposted your post with the same AI-generated image and the same text on top.
Yes, I believe she added her own caption, though.
And Sammy Snow's version received over 200,000 likes and millions of views. Is that correct?
That is correct. Like I said, I was a little bit jealous, but honestly, now that I think about it, it's a little bit flattering that such a big influencer would repost a small influencer's post like mine.
All right, I'd like to clarify. It was only after Sammy Snow reposted your post that it received this attention. Is that correct?
Yes. Snow's post made a lot more traction than mine because
Mr.
Snow was a bigger influencer.
Thank you, Mr. Baggins. Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions at this time.
All right, we'll
Defense calls Rowan Wilson to stand. Ms. Sonier, please raise your right hand. Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give will faithfully and truthfully conform to the facts and rules of the mock trial competition?
I do.
Thank you. You may be seated. Please state your full name and spell your last.
My name is Rowan Wilson. That's Wilson.
Your Honor, before I begin, can I get a brief time check?
Certainly.
You have 11 minutes remaining.
Thank you, thank you. Good morning, Dr. Wilson. Can you introduce yourself to the court?
Of course. My name is Dr. Rowan Wilson. I'm Professor of Digital Communications and Emerging Technologies at the Cascadia Institute of Technology, and I also work as an independent consultant with Emerging Tech Consulting Group.
And what specifically does your work focus on?
My work mainly focuses on advice, workshops, and legal testimony involving emerging technologies, AI, social media, and typically legal testimony, typically involving defamation. It depends on the situation.
And what specific certifications do you have?
I'm a certified AI human interaction analyst, and I'm also a certified digital ethics professional. And these two certifications I received in 2017 and 2018.
And do you have any specific experience with defamation?
I do. I have quite an extensive experience, but I would say the main things, I've been a guest speaker and keynote speaker at certain events that revolved around where I talked about the interaction of AI and social media and defamation. I also have many well-regarded publications, most notably one that I published for an international magazine in 2020 titled Generative AI and Defamation, Why Online Spaces Should Be Legally Reconsidered. And I suppose most relevant to this case is I also testified as an expert witness on this topic in a recent case, Cook versus Miramind Media, where I described the interaction of defamation and AI and social media.
Thank you, Dr. Wilson. Your Honor, at this time, the defense moves to enter Dr. Wilson as an expert witness in AI analysis, digital ethics, social media, its effects and culture, AI human interactions, and defamation in the context of social media and AI.
Response?
No objection, Your Honor. However, I'd like to ensure that this witness's expertise is kept strictly to how social media, AI, and those relevant topics pertain to defamation and not the legal definition of defamation, which is a topic for the judge and lawyers to discuss.
So the witness will be qualified on the topics that have been listed. However, plaintiff, you are reserving objections, any and all objections you may wish to make, any particular opinions the expert may offer at any time.
Yes, any legal.
Okay, you decide when you want to object. You have the right to do it, you know. You're not waiving anything, so whenever you want to, if you have an objection, you're free to make it.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor. Dr. Wilson, what are the traditional journalistic standards in traditional media today?
I think when we're talking about this topic, it's really important to recognize what traditional media is. So when we discuss traditional media, it's referring to academic peer-reviewed journals, traditional news sources that have been established, and also things such as local news. And there's journalistic standards, which is sort of like a criteria of standards that these sort of platforms must uphold. And this criteria is really extensive, but the main things that I think is important to recognize is that journalistic standards kind of mean making sure there are two reliable sources that report the same fact before publishing a fact. So viewers of those reliable news sources know that it's reliable, and also making sure quotes aren't being misconstrued and things like this that traditional media is required to uphold.
And do these standards also apply to social media as well?
They do not, and I think that's something that's really important to note, especially in this case. The only thing that social media is really required to uphold is the terms of service online, which is just, I guess the main thing about terms and service that specifically apply to posts is not having any bigotry, discriminatory language, and also that content would likely be taken down, and any, gore, corpses, things like that, that would be taken down from social media as well per terms of service in those cases.
Thank you, Dr. Wilson. And for the benefit of the jury, can you give a definition of what the word algorithm means?
Yes, absolutely. The word algorithm, specifically on social media, it's sort of an online tool that helps view what users of a certain social media platform, will interact with, so what they like and comment on and share. And the algorithm will try to search and find posts that are similar to that to help connect that with what the viewers like. And it kind of helps match influencers and their viewers, or just people who post things online, and other users who would like that content.
Thank you. And let's move on to AI. Does AI change social media usage?
Yes, it's important to recognize that AI has significantly kind of transformed social media usage. Specifically in this case, the type of artificial intelligence that's used is generative AI. And it's primarily used on social media, kind of to facilitate online interactions and connections. Kind of an example is, generative AI is used sometimes for, celebrity or politician, kind of distorted images of them for satirical purposes, and, a plethora of other reasons. It's mainly used for people to help facilitate communication online.
And can you expand on the meaning of engagements and interactions online, especially for content creators?
Of course. So when we think of content creators or influencers, in this case, specifically Charlie Baggins and Sammy Snow, it's important to recognize that these influencers sort of build an online personality for themselves. And these can be multifaceted, of course. But I think it's important to recognize that these people build those online personalities, like Charlie Baggins typically posts AI generative imagery in order to gain followers. That adheres to his particular online personality. And therefore, kind of algorithms will match users who may like or comment or share AI imagery in those cases. That kind of helps them find each other and facilitate those engagements and interactions.
And for clarification, was the High Cut Carnival an already pre-existing topic by the time Sammy reposted it?
Yes, it was a very trending or very popular topic online, especially when we're thinking about Cascadians. It had been over a month since the Zipper incident originally occurred, before the post happened, and it was a trending topic for a very long period of time.
And Dr. Wilson, in your professional opinion, what may have been Sammy's main goal in reposting Baggins' post?
Objection, Your Honor. Lack of personal knowledge under Rule 602. Dr. Wilson can't
Response?
Your Honor, lack of personal knowledge does not correlate to an expert witness testimony.
Your Honor, what Ms. Snow thinks or does not think is, regardless, not something that Dr. Wilson can testify to, and is still inadmissible under Rule 602.
Yeah. Testimony is not, expert's not limited to first-hand knowledge, but in this particular instance, asking about the individual's motivation Sammy Snow, I'm gonna sustain the objection. I'm also gonna tell both sides, because of time constraints, I'm not gonna let you argue objections as much as I have been. We're running out, nobody's done anything wrong except me, but we're running out of time, so you can make objections, but I'm gonna move quicker, so, that objection is sustained.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor. What may be people's main, in general, what is the main reason for reposting a post?
So in general, influencers, typically their main goal in reposting something is to have that connect with as many followers or people who like that content, because influencing, a huge part of it is helping that algorithm connect with what people would like similar content. And so when people repost something, it typically is because it adheres to their online personality, like Sammy Snow in this case. The majority of Sammy's online content is in regards to things in the Cascadia area. It's in regards to people, places, events, memes or, kind of jokes online that are surrounding that area, because that's where the majority of her follower base would likely be.
And for the benefit of the jury, can you describe what you mean by the post-truth era, which is a term you coined?
Of course. So the post-truth era is sort of an academic term that I coined that portrays specifically or is involved specifically with social media and online platforms used for engagement and interaction. And like I described earlier, traditional media is something that's completely separate from social media. And so to describe that separation between, satirical, humorous, and platforms that facilitate engagement and connection between people, that's kind of beyond truth. It's used primarily now, as we see social media today, as humorous and satirical, meant for communication between people online, which is completely separate from traditional media, which is still very factual.
And to your understanding, was Sammy Snow's social media presence in this post-truth framework?
Yes, absolutely. Sammy Snow operated completely within this post-truth framework. All of her posts either involved, maybe certain kind of opinions and stuff like that on, recipes and things like that she posted, and was completely within this, post-truth framework.
And for clarity, Dr. Wilson, have you reviewed all the exhibits and affidavits in today's case?
Of course.
And to your understanding, did Sammy's repost ever violate any terms, conditions, or guidelines?
No terms of service or guidelines of social media, or in this case, the platform Sammy Snow operated on, were ever violated, and her post was never taken down due to those reasons or anything like that.
And did Sammy stating that she wouldn't be back at the carnival ever violate any terms of conditions or guidelines?
No, that was just her opinion.
And due to the amount of impressions on Sammy's repost, can you state for certain that everyone took the repost as fact?
So, I can't be in everybody's brains, obviously. You can't track down what every single person thinks. But it's a lot easier to predict how people may view things on social media than a lot of people might think. I've studied this area for over a decade, and for all of my studying of, algorithms and how AI and humans interact, I think it's important to recognize that algorithms match content that would match what viewers would typically enjoy. So when we're talking about this post, which was humorous and satirical in nature, as stated by Charlie Baggins and Sammy Snow, meant as a joke, it's likely that all of the people, or sorry, not all, the great majority of people who saw this, we can very confidently predict that they are people who enjoy humorous and satirical content and saw it as that.
So in your professional opinion, Dr. Wilson, was Sammy's repost do you believe Sammy's repost was the sole cause of the carnival's closure?
Absolutely not.
Thank you, Your Honor. No
Objection,
further
Your Honor.
questions.
Under Rule 701, this is outside the scope of Dr. Wilson's expertise. It's about finances.
Response?
Your Honor, my witness has been entered as an expert in social media and its effects, which I believe correlate if we're talking about Sammy Snow's repost and its effects in general.
I'll overrule the objection.
Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions.
All right?
Good morning, Dr. Wilson.
Morning.
Let's talk about Sammy Snow's post. Ms. Snow posted AI-generated content, right?
Yes, of course, but the AI generated content was created originally by Charlie Baggins.
Right. So the AI tools that generated the image that both Ms. Snow and Ms. Baggins posted generated distortions, right?
AI's main job, as we recognize it in my professional experience, is about manipulating, distorting, or most importantly, exaggerating or hyperbolizing certain content fed in.
Right, and specifically,
Objection, Your Honor. Recross is confined to 2 questions.
Your Honor, this is
Yeah, this is
cross-examination.
cross.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Specifically, these AI tools generated the claim that the zipper had been lethal, right?
They did absolutely not generate that claim. I think it's very important to recognize that from my professional experience, it's when we're talking about jokes and AI and social media, specific factual information is not the main thing. I think when you look at this post, it's this
Ms.
factual
Wilson,
information. There's nothing factual about AI.
for the sake of time, could you please keep your answers to shorter?
I'll respond in my capacity as an expert witness, but I'll do my best.
So you did state that the claim that the zipper had been lethal and that injuries had occurred were distortions influenced by the AI tools that generated the post.
They were
right?
hyperbolized and exaggerated satirical content meant for joking purpose.
But you did state that. That's a yes, right? In your assignment form affidavit.
Yes.
Okay.
I believe that's what I just responded to.
Yes. I'd like to move on to the effects of Ms. Snow's post. It was seen by millions of people, right?
Yes, and those millions of people, per my studying of algorithms, were likely people who enjoyed satirical and humorous content, or people who were lived in this Cascadia area.
Right, but you can't really testify to what every single person may have been thinking, can you?
Like I stated earlier, no, I cannot be in everybody's brains and know exactly how they perceived a certain image. However, I can be very confident in my prediction as to how people view the post per algorithms and how they interact with society, because I'm a certified AI human interaction analyst.
Right, and because of that, you can tell that it increased public scrutiny of the Honeycutt Carnival, right?
Yes, whenever anybody sees a post, it's of course that would make them think of that place. So if you describe, scrutiny as, recognizing something or, having them think about that place, then sure.
And you can't testify to interviewing any of Ms. Snow's followers, can you?
I believe that's not really, relevant. I've studied all of the affidavits and also I have over a decade of experience in this field.
You
so
can't testify to talking to any of them personally, correct?
I haven't talked to any of the random followers online. I don't have access to any of that information.
All right. Now, I'd like to talk about the comments on this post. I'm handing a copy to counsel. Permission for the clerk to listen.
May,
Handing a copy to the clerk.
is this 1B we're talking about?
This is Exhibit 1B. Do you recognize this as a fair and accurate copy?
Yes, of course.
Your Honor, the plaintiff moves to enter Exhibit 1B into evidence. Its authenticity has been stipulated.
Any objection?
Yes, Your Honor, hearsay.
Response?
Your Honor, specifically the comment the plaintiff moves to enter, the second comment by Funny Guy 87 is not hearsay because it is proving the user's plan, which is admissible hearsay under Rule 803 sub 5, I believe. It's showing their motive intent for plan.
Response?
Your Honor, may I confirm with co-counsel?
Well, actually, I'm gonna withdraw that. I am going to, due to the time constraint, I will allow that particular point to come in, but without admitting Exhibit 5. So you can refer to that statement in the cross-examination, because that's all you're really asking for.
Thank you, Your Honor.
So this user said, "Whoa, people died," shocked emoji, "I'm never buying another ticket," right?
Yes, Funny Guy 87 stated, whoa, people died, ghost emoji, whatever that is. I'm never buying another ticket, ... which is likely a, satirical kind of response to something like there was a satirical post.
But you can't testify to what the user thought at that time, can you?
Like I stated earlier, I'm not in everybody's brains, but I can very confidently predict what they likely saw per algorithms and online interactions between AI and humans.
And this comment had, let me confirm, 682 likes, correct?
But this comment was never liked by the author, so.
Right, but it had 682 likes, regardless of this.
Sure, out of the millions of people who saw the post, comments are liked on social media, that's part of the, online interaction.
Okay, lastly, I'd like to talk about why you're here today. You were paid by Ms. Snow and her team to testify today, correct?
Yes,
Objection, Your Honor, relevance.
That goes to bias overruled.
Thank you, Your Honor.
very common part of my job. I'd also like to, I think it's important to notice that if I ever gave something that I didn't personally believe to be true, I could lose my certifications that I worked very hard to receive.
Right, and just one last question, you were paid $8,500 specifically, correct?
In my capacity as an expert witness, because I reviewed all of the affidavits and all of the evidence and correlated that with my personal experience.
Thank you, Dr. Wilson. Your Honor, I have no further questions.
Okay.
Dr. Wilson, Dr. Wilson, does getting paid by the defense sway your testimony at all?
Absolutely not. This is a part of my job. I've done this many times before in different capacities as my, in my professional experience and my professional life, what I've dedicated my life to.
Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions.
Recross?
No recross for this.
Okay, please may step down. In just a minute here, I need kind of don't use on the initials automatically insert the button.
Thank you, Your Honor.
One click. One click is all it took for Sammy Snow to destroy a business. On May 31st, 2024, Sammy Snow published a repost that said, Hayden and the Honeycutt Carnival got people skull emoji for a ride. Although Charlie Baggins originally generated the image, it was Sammy Snow's repost that spread the claim to millions. Hayden Honeycutt could only watch as attendance dwindled, profits dropped, and once friendly faces sneered at her employees. By late September, just a couple months before their 100-year anniversary, Honeycutt Carnival was forced to shut its doors. And all it took was one click. Today, you heard Sammy Snow say that she had no reason to believe the statement was true. How she didn't consult Charlie Baggins, didn't look up the real story, just reposted it to her millions of followers, completely ignoring any attempt at gleaning the truth. Sure, it was Charlie Baggins who originally generated the image, but that's not why we're here today. We're here because of Sammy Snow's repost, her influence, her ability to make one click and send an image to millions. Members of the jury, you saw the post. A man falling from a carnival ride, Hayden and the Honeycutt Carnival got people skull emoji for a ride. A skull and crossbones, it said that the carnival got people killed and it was all Miss Honeycutt's fault. And yet you heard from witness after witness that no one was even hurt, let alone killed, at the carnival. Sammy Snow's statement was definitively false. Finally, we had to prove, through a preponderance of the evidence, that Sammy Snow's repost caused harm to Hayden Honeycutt. You heard as Morgendorf testified and presented evidence that clearly showed that after the post, the summer, normally the carnival's most profitable period, was replaced by decreases in profits. The only man with decades of experience with the carnival's finances concluded without a doubt that it was Sammy Snow's post that caused the decline of the carnival. The effects of the post were clear even to those on the ground. From harassment to physical violence to being called murderers, Sammy Snow's effect was clear. All of these events happened only after Sammy Snow's repost, were perpetrated by people wearing Sammy Snow's merch and chanting Sammy Snow's slogans. Today, we the plaintiff had to prove through preponderance or majority of the evidence that Sammy Snow is liable for defamation. That she published a statement that asserted a fact that dealt harm to Hayden Honeycutt. We have clearly met that burden of proof. Sammy Snow reposted and thus published the image, causing her audience of millions to take it as fact, causing a drastic shift in public opinion, causing a decline in profits and damage to the business, eradicating a century of tradition, causing the end of a livelihood. Thank you.
jury, may it please the court. Today you have watched a trial brought to your attention solely because of the plaintiff's hurt feelings and an inability to understand satire. The defense's case, however, is built on cold, hard evidence that the carnival was in decline well before Sammy's post. My client, Sammy Snow, is the victim of an unfair lawsuit. Hayden Honeycutt is trying to pin his own failures on Sammy. Sammy cannot be punished because Hayden Honeycutt can't handle humor. Sammy reposted an image generated by someone else entirely simply because she thought it was funny. Sammy's reputation and by extension career as an influencer are in jeopardy because of a simple parody post. That's it. There was no assertion of fact, no accusation, just an opinion mixed with a little dark humor. This case is not about lies, misinformation, or even defamation. This case comes down to one fact. Hayden Honeycutt cannot handle humor. This fact has led to the wrongful accusation of defamation for Sammy Snow. As the jury, it is your responsibility to review the facts presented today. And the facts are clear that Sammy Snow is not liable for the continued decline of Honeycutt Carnival. For the plaintiff to have demonstrated that Sammy is liable, they had to prove that Sammy Snow, 1. Published a false statement of fact concerning Honeycutt Carnival. 2. The statement was harmful or defamatory in nature. 3. The plaintiff, Hayden Honeycutt, suffered harm or injury as a direct result of the publication. And 4. Sammy was at fault for making the statement. As a defense, it's important to remember that we bear no burden of proof. It is the plaintiff who had to prove all of these arguments, and they have failed to do so. Through Morgendorf's cross-examination, it was shown that Honeycutt Carnival sales were on the decline for at least 5 months prior to Sammy's post, and that in fact, the carnival had experienced a greater decline in the month immediately following the zipper malfunction than during the month following Sammy's post. Morgendorf also admitted that the carnival had time to recover before Sammy's post, which they clearly didn't do through no fault of Sammy. Denny Nugget's testimony was clearly clouded by personal bias against Ms. Snow and is therefore unreliable. Lastly, we also heard from carnival owner Hayden Honeycutt. Look, Sammy has nothing but empathy for Ms. Honeycutt and the loss of her family business. However, it was made clear through her testimony that she is looking for a scapegoat for the deterioration of her business, a deterioration that can be clearly traced back to the mechanical issue with the zipper that occurred on April 1st. And the only reason she's going after Sammy is because Sammy has deeper pockets than Charlie Baggins. The plaintiff has tried to confound the facts of this case, that the carnival experienced an inevitable decline due to the traumatic events of April 1st, prior to Sammy's post. Today you heard from Sammy Snow that her repost was satire, and she trusted that her audience would understand that. Next you heard from Charlie Baggins, the author of the original post. He not only testified to questionable safety standards that Honeycutt ignored, but confirmed that the carnival had declining attendance well prior to the satirical post my client shared. Finally, you heard from technological consultant and expert Roland Wilson, that in a world where AI is so prevalent, social media is not a source to be trusted at face value, further distancing Sammy from any liability. The commonly accepted definition of satire is the use of irony, wit, and sarcasm to comment on the world around you. It is not meant to be taken literally as demonstrated through Sammy's post. Sammy used irony, wit, and sarcasm to share entertainment to her followers. She did not purport to be a journalist or official, she simply shared a joke. If every failing business could blame an influencer for their own failure, social media would cease to exist as a place for free expression, and the courts would be clogged with frivolous lawsuits like this one. Sammy is not responsible for the continued decline of Honeycutt Carnival, and the plaintiff has failed to prove otherwise. Hayden Honeycutt may not have a sense of humor, but the law certainly does. As the jury, you cannot hold a woman liable of defamation for simply sharing someone else's joke, and as a result, you must find the defendant not liable. Thank you.
Plaintiff rebuttal.
May I first ask how much time I have remaining on rebuttal?
2 minutes and 20 seconds.
Members of the jury, the defense's case is built on shallow foundation. They're trying to convince you that a case of defamation is somehow not about defamation. Remember the defense's opening statement, when she said that the truth would be laid bare on their cross-examinations. What was that truth? Their big moment with Morgendorf was getting him to admit that the post caused the decline of the carnival? Their big moment on Denny Nugget was getting him to admit that Sammy Snow is a fake person that'll do anything for views. Now, remember back a couple hours ago when Hayden Honeycutt was on the stand. Remember how when we tried to bring up the post, the opposing counsel objected hearsay. They said that we are using the post for the truth of the matter asserted. Even Sammy Snow's attorneys immediately assumed that when we brought up the post, we meant it as a fact. We ask you, now that you've heard all the facts and evidence, to find Sammy Snow liable for defamation. Thank you.
All right, just to finish up, that concludes the trial. Perhaps on the either side,